Tailwind CSS 2.0 just released yesterday. If you're anything like me, I have been using Tailwind CSS from the version 0.x, and I'm really excited with the latest update they did, since it includes so many features and improvements and bug fixes. All these improvements, by the way, are well documented in the Upgrade tab. My name is Salim, and I will share with you quickly on how to install Tailwind CSS into a brand new project, configure it, and enable the dark mode that has been officially supported by the version 2.0. So let's get started. Just before we start, I would like to give a thumbs up for Adam and Steve, the creators of Tailwind CSS. They did a great job improving the onboarding process for new developers. I think now they're trying to convince them with the new features and the flexibility of customization. However, just a quick note, as mentioned in the docs, they officially dropped the support for IE 11 completely. So if you need to still support that, you need to use the version 1.9 till they dropped it officially. So let's get started. In this tutorial, we're gonna rebuild the Upwork website, only the landing page, the first two sections, the hero section and this section here, using Tailwind CSS version 2.0, which we will enable also the dark mode. So it's gonna be fun. So let's create the project here, mkdir Upwork, and then let's cd into that, and let's open that in VS Code to get started with. So initially I don't have nothing. I'm gonna open the terminal inside VS Code, and I will make sure that I have a node version 12 and above. So I'm gonna use nvm use 12. This is only for my machine, and then I'm gonna run npm init-y, which will generate the package.json for us so we can get started installing the dependencies we need. So if we go to Tailwind CSS installation tab, you will find this one command, and by the way, they improved the installation documentation very well right now. So all we have to do is install these three packages: Tailwind CSS, PostCSS, and Auto Prefixer. Now we need one more package or dependency, is PostCSS CLI, which we will use it to compile the Tailwind CSS directives that we will add in our CSS. So first, let's install these three dependencies into our project. Going back to the terminal, let's run install Tailwind CSS, PostCSS, and Auto Prefixer. In the meanwhile, let's create a new folder here called src, and inside this src, let's create a new folder called CSS, and then inside CSS, we will create one file called app.css, which we will have our own directives for Tailwind, and if we need to customizing using components, here we can do. All right. So now all the packages have been installed. Let's go back to the Tailwind CSS documentation. We need to generate one file called PostCSS config. If you are using PostCSS, you will know what it is. But basically, it's just configuration for PostCSS to enable Tailwind CSS and Auto Prefixer as plugins. So let's create that file here in the root of the project. Let's create a new file called postcss.config.js, and let's add this 4 lines. Let's make sure we intended very well, save it and close it. Now going back down here, we need to generate also the configuration file for Tailwind as always. So npx TwilwindCSS init CSS. So the file will be generated is very minimal, and also if you notice here, they added one new kind of a flag that enables the dark mode, which we will take a look in this video mainly. So the file has been generated, as you can see here, tailwind.config.js, and here in the dark mode we can enable media and class. Now the differences between media and class is well documented in the docs, but basically media will rely on the operating system of your users. So if your users enable the dark mode of their system, by default, Tailwind CSS will take that and enable the dark mode automatically without you do anything. Now, if you need to have kind of a control over that, instead of relying on the operating system, and give your users the ability to switch using a toggle or a button, you can enable the class mode. So we will use class mode in this tutorial, but if you want to use media, feel free to do that. So I'm going to change the false here to be class, and you will see the difference now why we use class. Now, if we go back here, I think that's it. We need just to add the directives in our CSS, which is under src css app.css. Now you can structure the folder up to you, but I like this structure here. So here are the directives for Tailwind, and now we need to kind of compile these directives to generate the Tailwind CSS utilities that we can use in our project. All right. In order to compile Tailwind CSS, you can use any tool you prefer. For me, I'm going to use PostCSS because it's simple to use and easy for this tutorial. So we will add one more line to our package.json, which basically enable us to run a command using npm run, and then we will name the script is div. So we will run npm run div every time we need to compile the Tailwind CSS file to our public folder, which we will generate it in a while. Now let's remove this one and then replace it with this command. Now the path to our CSS will be src and then CSS and then app.css. The output, you can also control that. We will add it inside public directory and then app.css. Cool. So app.css public directory is not enabled or not generated yet, but PostCSS will do that for us when we run the npm run div command. So let's save that and go to the terminal and let's say npm run div. Now, if you get this command, don't forget to install PostCSS CLI into your div dependency. So we will run npm install -d only for div dependency, and then we will install PostCSS /CLI. Cool, it had been installed. Now if we run the command again, npm run div, it should work perfectly. So I'm going to increase the font a little bit so you can see it clearly. Now it's compiling the Tailwind CSS from src css app.css into the generated folder or directory called public, and inside public, here we will have our own index.html and all our project will live here. All right, so I will create a new index.html inside public, and here will be our HTML file that we're going to use from now on. Now let's quickly generate this HTML skeleton. So let's change the title to be Upwork. And now we need to also to link this index.html. Let's, by the way, close these other tabs. We don't need package.json, we don't need tailwind.config, and we don't need app.css. We just need to link index.html to the generated file of app.css. So we use that. You're normally using the external link. So we'll say link that as a style sheet to app.css. So now all the generated Tailwind CSS utilities will be available inside our index.html. So as you can see here, the generated file includes so many features, so many utilities you can use. And if you search for dark, you will see a lot of dark utilities you can use. All right. So let me close also this app.css. Let's minimize this sidebar a little bit, and then let's save this one. And for my side, I'm using live server inside VS Code as an extension. So I'm going to run that here, and we will see now a full page, empty page on the browser with Tailwind CSS installed on it. So if we try to use one of the Tailwind CSS utilities, it should work. So let's verify that. If we add just navbar, and let's give it BG, let's say gray, and then 100, and maybe height of 20, just to make sure that it's working, and then width of full. So I'm going to save that, come back here. We should see the gray color here, light gray color as the navbar. So that actually indicate that Tailwind CSS has been successfully installed in our project. Cool. Now if you go back here, if we need to enable the dark mode, the dark mode explained very well in the documentation. So you have two ways basically. Either you can rely on the operating system, and Tailwind CSS will try to detect that from the browser, or you can have your own control over that, and you can enable your users to have a switch or button to switch between light and dark mode. So let's try that. If we go here, as you can see, we can enable the dark mode utilities by providing this kind of indicator, dark, and then colon, and then whatever class you need to provide. So basically, the initial setup or the light mode will be BG white, and if you enable the dark mode, or your users enable the dark mode, then this class will be applied. All right. So let's try and verify that. So if you say dark and then BG gray, let's use 800 and save it. Obviously this will not work because we are relying on that class, and if you rely on the class you need to do some kind of JavaScript around it. But basically if you scroll a little bit down here, they mentioned you can verify that by adding a class dark to the HTML directly, just to test it if it's working or not. So let's copy this class and add it to our HTML, save it, and we should see now the navbar changed actually to dark mode. So now we have the flexibility of providing our users the ability to switch between light mode and dark mode. Now this is basically we are doing that manually. So let's add one button and enable that using the JavaScript. In the nav here, I'm going to remove, by the way, this class from the HTML. And in the nav, I'm going to just add one button. And let's add this, let's go to hero icons, basically also created by Adam. If you just search for sun, maybe, we have this one here. Let's copy that and let's paste this, cool of icon here. And let's give it kind of CSS styling to it. So we say maybe BG, I don't know, kind of, let's give it edge of 10, width of 10, and then let's give it flex, justify center, and then items center. Just to test this working or not. So let's save it and come back here to the navbar. We should see this button here. Now let's also add this focus outline none to prevent this bad border to the button. Now it's cool, it's working. Now also we need to change this text. Let's try to change it to, let's say, kind of a blue, maybe 500. See it working? Yeah, cool. Or maybe yellow. How is that? Yellow, it's cool, at least for me. Now also for the navbar I will add a flex as well, and then I'm gonna say item center, which will basically center the items vertically on the y-axis. Now we have this cool button here in the navbar. Now let's assign an ID for that button, and then let's give it called switch theme. All right. So now we need to add a script so we can handle the toggle functionality if we clicked on that button. So we will say script, and then we will say, by the way, we will use pure JavaScript, no framework here. So we'll say document dot get element by ID, and the ID we have is switch theme. So we say get element by ID switch theme, and then we want to add event listener. The event we need to listen is click, and then we will have a function as a callback. In this function we will toggle the theme based on our user's need. So if you go to TailwindCSS, they actually provide us with a basic startup for JavaScript. The one we need is to have this one. So I'm gonna use here, and then I'm gonna say let HTML classes. You will understand why I'm doing this. HTML classes equal document.querySelector HTML and then class list. So basically we will select the HTML here. You remember we need to add class dynamically called dark if the user selected dark theme. Cool. Now we will rely on local storage to keep persistent the application to have the same theme. If our users switch to another page or navigate to another page, they will get the same theme if they select dark theme. Cool. Now we will say if we have local storage.theme equal dark, if you already have this value in our local storage to be equal dark, then what we're gonna do? Basically we will do the opposite, which basically we will remove the class from HTML classes. So we say HTML classes.remove, and then we provide the class which is dark. Cool. Now we also need to do is to remove this key from our local storage. So the next time if we click on the button, it will listen to it will check if the value is equal dark, and if it's not, it will add the class called dark. So it will do the opposite basically. Now the one thing we need to do is to add that. So we say local storage.remove, remove item, and then the item we need to remove is theme. Okay, this key here. Okay, so the next time when we click on the button, it will not be there. This will not be executed. This one will be executed. We will add the dark theme or the dark class to the HTML, and then we will store local storage to be local storage theme to be dark. For the next time, if we toggle it again, it will be removed. So let's save this and try that in the browser. If we click on the button, now it's dark, which is awesome. If we click it again, it goes back to light. Very cool. Now the only problem we will face is, let's close this one, and if I change that to dark, if I refresh the page, it will go back to light, even though we store this in the local storage. Let's verify that. If we go to applications and then go to local storage here, you will see the theme is dark. Why is that? That's because we are not checking once the page is loaded. So if you go to TailwindCSS here, you need to add this one inside your script once the page is loaded. And the best way or the best place to add it, not here, basically I advise you to add it in the head, so to avoid all the flicky thing or the flicky looking if we add it to this page, because if you add it here, it will wait to everything to be rendered here and then it will trigger this script. So if we say script, and then let's just add this few lines. By the way, I got this few lines from Tailwind docs. Alright, so let's save this and come back here. The page is reloaded. It looks that we have a local theme inside local storage, and it will load that based on that key. So if you click it again, it is back to light. If we refresh the page, it stays as light. If we click it here and refresh the page, it will remain as dark, which is amazing. Alright, so I'm going to show you quickly. We'll not build the full page of Upwork, that will take a long time, but basically we'll show you how to add few items. Let's just say we will have a main section. Let's add it outside the nav bar, and the main section basically will have the hero. So we will say class and then bg white. Alright, and then let's give this one as 200, and let's quickly grab the logo of Upwork. If you just inspect this, I think it's SVG maybe. So if we click on this, let's just add it here, and then let's add one more class to kind of add a distance between the button and the logo. So if I save this, going back here, refresh, yeah, the logo is coming. Now we need to kind of put the button to the end of the screen to the right and the logo to the left. So we add one class called justify between. Alright, so save it, come here, the button here, and the logo on the left. So cool. Alright, now we need to do one more thing, is to add like a kind of px4, kind of a little bit padding between on the x-axis to the right and left to make it a little bit nicer. Alright, so very nice. Let's switch it to 700. I'm not sure if this will be cool. No, let's put it to 900 so the logo will appear and at least we can see it. Very nice. Now let's add one more item here, the hero section. We just want to add this title here and the paragraph and then the background. So quickly I'm gonna copy here what they put, and then I'm gonna say h1, and I just add break here. I'm not going to worry about the designs that much. Just show you the functionality of TailwindCSS, how to enable the dark mode on based on our user's choice. So we say class, let's give it text. I don't know what's the text they provide here. Green, maybe green 500. And then if we enable the dark, maybe we can lower the value to maybe 300. So text green and then 300. No, I don't know, just to see that. Alright, so let's also increase the font. So font bold and text X large. Save that, come back to the page. There we go. It doesn't feel good, but alright, this is 300 is very low. Okay, so we need to also add the background to the main section. So we say dark, and then BG will be gray for, let's say, 800. Very nice. But I'm not happy with this color, so let's keep it as 500, but let's change it to yellow. Alright, so if it's dark, it will be yellow. If it's white or light, it will be green, like this. I'm sure you will not be happy about the result right now, but this is just to show you how you can enable the dark mode. Okay, so also I'm gonna add maybe a container around it very quickly. And then let's add a padding of, let's say 4. And here we go. Let's add also the paragraph they have, and we call it off. So save that, come back to the page. We see it here. If we change it to light or dark, this dark will feel like not cool. So we need to change that based on the dark. So we can say, if it's dark, change that to white, text white. And here we go. Now let's add more white space around each item. So we say PY4, and this one also PY4. There we go. And feel free to customize it. This is not the tutorial on building, rebranding the Upwork. So I just want to show you how quickly we can enable the dark mode. So good luck with that, and I hope you like it, and hope to see you in the next video.